with me right now, I have Lauren Jauregui, who made her solo debut in 2018 with the incredible single Expectations. She just worked with Tiny. She's on the Birds of Prey soundtrack. And she's going to be releasing her solo album very soon, her debut.
Yes.
Please give it up for Lauren.
Hi, everyone. Hello.
Yeah.
Singer-songwriter.
Singer-songwriter. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, please tell me how the process has been for recording your debut album and kind of being in the studio and writing for yourself.
Yeah, it's been incredibly transformative, to be honest. If most of you know or don't know, I used to be in a girl group, and that was quite an experience. There's not a lot of room really for creative agency over, your own voice in those kind of circumstances, and not so much as a dig as it is like kind of a realization I came to while I was in the group, and shortly afterwards, when it ended, I kind of just had this whole moment of like my soul returning to me, and me kind of being like, whoa, who are you? Who are you? Who do you want to be? And how are you going to navigate your own voice now? And so these past 2 years have been just a deep dive into that subconscious of mine and that world of mine, and really getting in touch with what it is that I want to say, what kind of message I have for people, what kind of messages I had for myself, because really my art has been such an exploration of self and such a deep dive into my psyche and where I am and what I feel and what I think. And my main intention with it and with once giving it to the world is just healing, Like, it's been such a healing process for me to write the music, and to get these lyrics out of me, and to really, learn that I'm good at what I do, you know what I mean? And really believe that about myself, and just kind of deep dive into that. So I'm so excited to give it to the world and for things to really start coming out. Thank you.
And I know that you're very passionate about writing, and you wrote poetry, and you've been writing for a really long time. I mean, do you remember the first song that you ever wrote?
Yeah. The first song, I only wrote like 2 songs growing up. And I'm a Cancer. Yes, I'm an emotional shawty, yep. And on top of being emotional, I'm also a Scorpio moon, so we got double water. Yeah, super fun. Really great to be me. But anyways, in that process, I was like, I was 15 when I got my heart broken for the first time. And the only way that I could channel it was through writing, because I was like sick. Like, I don't know if y'all remember your first heartbreak, but the first time when like you give everything to someone and like you're like, I'm gonna marry this person, I'm gonna have kids with this person. I was 15. I was like, I'm gonna marry this person. This is my everything. We're gonna have a beautiful tree house together. And then like he randomly left me after 3 months because he went to the DR and like was like, oh, I can be with other girls. And I was like heartbroken, distraught. And so I wrote a song about it. And yeah, that was my first song. I don't even remember the name of it, to be honest. But yeah, I did write that song. And my first poem was when I was like 7 or 8 years old. And I still to this day have the book I wrote it in, which I'm very proud of. It was like a green notebook. And I couldn't sleep at all. Like, I was super, I don't know why a 7-year-old was having insomnia, but she was. And I kind of, I woke up and I was like, how do I get this out of me? And then I just like started writing and wrote about not being able to sleep. And then after it came out of me, I fell asleep. And so my brain connected, oh, when I have crazy feelings and I feel overwhelmed, like I can put it onto paper through a pen and it'll leave my body. And energetically, it'll leave me and I can just kind of make sense of what I feel. So since then, it's been a wrap.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And who are some of your biggest influences in writing and performing? And I know we've seen a diverse array of sounds from you. I mean, who really inspired you growing up?
Ooh, a lot of different people. In a musical frame, Amy Winehouse largely influenced me. Erykah Badu, Miss Lauryn Hill, Christina Aguilera, even though that was more from a singing standpoint. I feel like just there's such a wide. John Mayer, I love his writing style. The XX, the Arctic Monkeys, Alex Turner, just a bunch of different kinds of. I like Alicia Keys. Excuse me, I forget my main woman. It's just hey. But yeah, so I just a wide range of beautiful talents and strong talents. Yeah, I love lyrics that just when you hear them and when you hear the person who wrote them, you can feel them. That's my main thing. Like it transcends genre for me. It always has. Like I've never just listened to one type of music. I've always listened to all kinds of music, and I've just always gravitated towards lyricists, like people who really express their personal human experience, because that's what I think the beauty of art is being able to relate to one another through our experiences.
And growing up in Miami, I know that reggaeton was a huge impact on you,
and salsa, and all kinds of.
It kind of comes out obviously in the Tiny single that you just appear on Nada.
Nada.
Can you tell me about working with Tiny, and also if we'll hear some more Spanish language music from you, some Latin pop?
Yes, you'll definitely be getting some Latin vibes from me, from Spanish vibes. I grew up I'm Cuban American, so my grandparents were all born in Cuba, all four of them, and my mother was also born in Cuba. And they raised me. Like, I was blessed to be raised by my grandparents and my parents, and it's like a very tight-knit, super Latino family. And I grew up speaking Spanish only with my grandparents. Like, they would not speak to me in English. And in my household, it was always Spanglish, so it's like an array of Spanish and English expression, especially when mom was pissed. It's just the Spanish was just fluent when that was happening. So it was one of those things that naturally, as I started to write my own music, I gravitated towards expressing myself in Spanglish. Like, so there's obviously, you know, I was raised in America and went to school in English and everything, but I'm fluent in Spanish. So it's kind of like this in and out that I go through. I best express myself in English as far as vocabulary goes. Like, I have like a deeper grip on the language. But as far as, you know, there's random things that I'll be saying and I'm like, this needs to be said in Spanish. Like, I don't even know how to, especially when I'm like talking to my ancestors through my music, like it's always in Spanish because they all speak Spanish. So, yeah. And then, yeah, you'll definitely be hearing more of that though. And Tiny was so amazing to work with. He's such a beautiful creative and so locked in his pocket. And it's an honor to create with someone who's creating such a legendary moment for himself. He's really like doing a lot of really incredible things. So I'm grateful to have worked with him and that he saw the same thing in me that I see in him. Mm-hmm.
And you have such a huge fan base. I mean, so many people are, you know, really passionate about your music and passionate about releasing music, especially fans are very impatient. Tell me grateful for that. Tell me about handling that type of demand from people who have loved you for a long time, but also taking your time with it and exploring your own voice in the process. Yeah, honestly, that was the most important part for me. I feel like ever since I was 16 and started on this endeavor of being in this industry, because I've been in it for 7 years now. I'm 23. I've been through a lot, and I think my main thing was I learned through the process that I went through that I am a very hard worker. I learned that I am exactly who I say I am, and I show up as that person. And so it was a matter of gripping that and taking the time to make sure that she's okay before I give her to the world. Because I went through a lot, and I went through a lot of trauma, and it really broke my sense of self and made me doubt myself to a very deep degree, even though when I was younger, like, I created from a space of complete, you know, just pure passion and love and joy. I didn't think about whether it was gonna chart or, like, that wasn't even a concept in my mind. Like, I was just writing because if I didn't write, I felt bad, you know? And so I really have taken these past 2 years to separate myself, my real self, like my human self that's having this human experience on this planet, from the person that people want me to be and the projection of everyone else's expectations, and really deciphering and quieting all those voices and listening to me and listening to my higher self, listening to spirit guiding me, and just not allowing the outside influence to pressure me into having to get my shit together any faster than I could. Pressure me into feeling like I needed to release perfect music in order to compete with any one of my other
counterparts, because the media loves to compare us. And so do fans, and so do, the general public. People love to compare people, especially in what we do in entertainment business. People love to compare us, especially women. And so I really had to just kind of separate myself fully from all of those opinions and all those judgments, and all of the noise, and figure out who I was and get in tune with her and listen to her and write with her and listen to what I felt. And it's been a process of just doing that. And thankfully, I've been given the creative agency to really deep dive into that. Like, my label's been amazing with giving me the agency to create my music and not forcing me to, sing songs that other people wrote, and really believe in my talent. And that to me was the first part of it was, my team and the people around me believing in me. But then I realized even deeper than that, when they don't believe in me, I had to believe in me. That I had to be the first and foremost line I had to be on the front line of my own defense in that realm of, like, no matter what anybody says, even if people don't see what you see, like, you were given your gift and you see what your path is. So it's a matter of, again, quieting those voices and really honing in on, okay, I'm focusing on my energy. How can I be better? How can I show up better? How can I show up more like myself? How can I, work on my triggers and traumas and make sure that when I'm showing up in spaces that I don't allow who I become when I'm triggered become who I am, Because it's a different self. It's a survival self, It's not me. So I've really just been aligning with me and taking that time.
And with that, I mean, you've always been someone who is so outspoken, and as with politics, with activism, you speak about LGBTQ issues, you speak about mental health, and obviously with the election,
it's all connected.
You've encouraged people to get out there and vote, and having such a young fan base. I mean, tell me about the importance of reaching out to your fans to get them out there voting in this election.
Yeah, I feel like, it's about the election to an extent. I feel like we all know that we live in a corrupt world. And there's not much we can do about it. But there is a lot we can do about it. And I feel like my main thing is that I know the influence that I have over young minds. Young minds, older minds, there's all kinds of minds that pay attention to what I say for whatever the fuck reason, you know what I mean? Like, I can't tell you why God gave me the position to be in a space where I can speak to people and they listen, but I have been given that power. And because I've been given that power, I feel it's my obligation to speak truth to power. And to be a voice for the voiceless. And not necessarily to take up all the space, but to be an ally and supportive and able to amplify the voices that are already doing the work and that have already been doing this work out of necessity, not just because it's trendy, but because their survival depends on it, People have been doing this work for their communities. And so my mission is just to make people think for themselves. Like, that's my main thing, is like, stop listening to what everybody else tells you is truth, or what propaganda gives you as truth, or what corrupt-ass, lying-ass politicians give us as truth. Like, they're not, like, our cells and our souls are so capable of knowing the truth. When you really align yourself and you really kind of like, do your own research. I'm a huge proponent of doing your own research. Like, I can tell you everything in the world, but don't just believe me. I tell that to my fans and my audience all the time. Like, don't just go by what I'm giving you. Go look up facts. Go read books. Go, immerse yourself in studying, because, like, life is not linear. And there's not just one way that everything has to be. And it absolutely does not need to be corrupt. It absolutely does. We do not have to accept a reality where most of us are harmed. And we live in suffering and violence and, and all of that's just casually accepted. Like, we don't have to do that. We all do that because we've been conditioned and programmed to do that since we were little, like tiny little babies. But we all, especially when you get to an older age and you're given a little more agency to think for yourself, like, it is possible, and it takes courage. It takes unlearning. It takes confronting parts of yourself that you don't love, or that have shown up incorrectly, or that have shown up in a painful way towards others. Like, it is a painful process to undo, but it's necessary to do it. And I feel like I try my best to use my platform, especially even besides politics and all of the, works of what it means, all the little gimmicks of being alive. It's my main message is about self-love. Because that, to me, is the catalyst of all of the problems that we feel, is that no one trusts themselves. How can you trust another if you don't even trust yourself? How can you love someone else? How can you exude love if you do not love yourself? If you don't see your beauty and your essence and your capability of, like your past does not define who you are in this moment. It has created you in this moment, but you have every right to the agency of rewiring yourself. And there are so many tools available. So I just try to make those tools as available as possible to my audience and help them on their journey of realizing that self-love and really realizing how powerful they are and how powerful every single individual voice is, because we're all united as one being. You know what I mean? We're all a living, breathing part of this planet, and we are one with one another. And the sooner that we get out of this separated energy where we all feel like we're so in our individual worlds, and we start realizing that that potential in us to really show up as the light beings that we are, I just really believe that can shift. It's a mindset, you know what I mean? It's like a switch in mentality. Reality is whatever you switch it to be. It's not what's around you. And I know that actively because I actively change my reality via what I speak into the world, via what I do, my actions, the way that I show up to things. It's all the only thing we can control in this life is how we show up, and how we act and how we give. And so if each individual knew that power, I just think we'd live in a much better world.
And finally, I know that this is going to be a big year for you, and you have a new song coming soon. I was wondering if you can tease a little bit about what we can expect from your new single.
Yeah, I have a new single coming out very soon, sooner than you think. I can't tell you the date because y'all know how this goes, but yeah, it's coming very soon. The first song on the the first song I'm giving y'all from the album is definitely much more. It's more lighthearted. It's more of just a vibe that you can get into, and it could play at a club, but there's still thoughtful lyrics, and there's still very kind of sensual energy. My whole entire stuff, all of my stuff, is very self-explorative and very sensual energy. I don't know how else to describe that, really. You can dance to it, you can wind your hips to it. That's kind of where I'm at with it. That's what I like. That's the kind of music I listen to. So I kind of naturally gravitated towards producing those kinds of things. That's the first song. And then the ones that follow, it's you get further and further into my psyche and further into the depth of where the whole album will take you.
Well, thank you so much, Lauren. Let's give it up.
Thank you.
Thank you.